Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. Several prime ministers from the Caribbean community CARICOM are expected here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines this evening ahead of tomorrow's meeting with Ghana's President Ifran Ali and his Venezuelan counterpart Nicolas Maduro in an effort to de-escalate tension over the border controversy between both countries. On NBC Radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Savs outlined who are expected at the specially arranged meeting tomorrow.
Prime Ministers Skerritt, the chairman of CARICOM, Prime Minister of Dominica. I expect Prime Ministers Mitchell of Grenada and Philippe of St. Lucia, Prime Minister of the Bahamas. I spoke to him, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? There's so many telephone conversations. But he was actually in Minnesota when I tracked him down. But he will come in this evening. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados coming in tomorrow. She wanted to come in this evening, but she has an important function. She has a funeral and an important function, and if she comes, she wouldn't be able to leave earlier than 6:30, 7 o'clock tonight now. And Prime Minister Rowley from Trinidad and Tobago is coming in the morning. The presidents Ali and Maduro coming in tomorrow morning. And this evening, I expect the personal envoy of President Lula of the Federative Republic of Brazil, very experienced diplomat. He was 10 years a foreign minister in Brazil and 5 years minister of defense. And he had been doing work for President Lula with President Maduro and President Ali. His name is Celso Amorim. They can look him up. Amorim. Celso, Celso. He's coming in this afternoon, today sometime.
Prime Minister Gansav said 2 diplomats from the United Nations Secretary General's office are also expected in state today for tomorrow's meeting.
Friend Antonio Guterres, he couldn't make it. So he is sending his chef de cabinet, the chief of the cabinet at the office of the Secretary General. Actually, a very experienced diplomat, a Jamaican, Earl Courtney Rattray, comes from a very distinguished family of public servants in Jamaica, and a very seasoned diplomat. And an assistant secretary general from the Department of Political and Peace Building Affairs. Yesterday, a contingent of Venezuelans came in, persons who look in as you'd expect at the security arrangements, some media, an advanced party of personnel, and an advanced party of personnel coming in from Guyana today. That's what I've been advised. There is a committee which I put together under the chairmanship of the cabinet secretary, covering all the officials, the relevant officials, senior officials. And I also recruited Eloise as an unpaid consultant, because there's some matters which her own skills can help with. So we are on target. We are on target. With all the requisite arrangements, as you would imagine, it's a huge activity, and in a sense, it's a good dress rehearsal for them for March, the first well, the end of February, beginning of March, when we hold the summit of the Caribbean, the Community of States of Latin America and the Caribbean, CELAC. When I pass over the pro tempore presidency, when St. Vincent and the Grenadines passes it over to the president of Honduras.
Dr. Gonsalves said in preparing for Thursday's meeting, a lot of detailed work had to be done diplomatically and organizationally, with SVG serving as a facilitator of the talks, not a mediator.
Doing work, in addition to as a facilitator, I'm doing preparatory work as an interlocutor, not a mediator. And there's so many people getting in touch with me. Of course, as an interlocutor, what I want to see is a resolution of matters consequential to the border dispute. And you notice the formulation, matters consequential to the border dispute. It's carefully phrased. And you've been hearing me talking about that. And often Ali has taken out the position of Guyana publicly. Nicolas Maduro has taken out the position of Venezuela publicly. And to some people, the divide is so wide that there may not be able to be any resolution. Well, there's value in talking without prejudice to what Guyana is doing before the International Court of Justice and what Venezuela wants to pursue through the 1966 agreement for the talks. But we see what they've staked out as their various positions. I don't have to go over those here. They're fairly well canvassed. And I mentioned that critical divide between both of them, between both positions as to the modalities for settlement. But there are lots of things for them to talk about consequential to the border controversy. Remember, this is a controversy over 100 years, Johnny P. But once people are talking, you're going to have a lessening of tensions, a lessening of virulent language, a de-escalation. And this is without prejudice to whatever the processes that each side would prefer for this matter to be pursued.
Ahead of tomorrow's meeting with the Guyanese leader, wrote a second letter to the Prime Minister, Dr. Gonsalves, reiterating his position that there will be no dialogue, compromise, or negotiation on the border controversy and the case before the International Court at a meeting with his Venezuelan counterpart, Nicolas Maduro. In the 4-page letter that was dispatched on Tuesday, President Ali responded to some of the claims contained in Maduro's acceptance letter to the meeting, noting that he has a mandate from the National Assembly of Guyana, which is unanimous in its resolve that the land boundary is not a matter for bilateral discussions, and a settlement of the matter is properly in the International Court of Justice, where it must remain until the court gives its final ruling on the merits of the case, which Guyana has always said will be fully respected by Guyana. Former Chief of Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and President of the Commonwealth Judicial Education Institution, Sir Dennis Byron, has commended Prime Minister Dr. Gonsalves for helping to coordinate tomorrow's discussions between the Venezuelan and Guyanese, noting that his leadership, particularly as head of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, exemplifies a commitment to unity and peace, crucial to resolving conflicts in our interconnected world. In a letter to Prime Minister Gonsalves dated Monday, December 11th, Sir Dennis said Prime Minister Gonsalves' proactive approach in facilitating the discussions alongside Brazilian President Luiz da Silva is a monumental step towards diffusing the long-standing tensions over the disputed territories, that the strategic discussion to host a significant dialogue in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is both a testament to Prime Minister Minister Gonsalves' diplomatic argument and his dedication to regional stability. Sir Dennis further noted in the letter that in these times when diplomatic tensions can quickly escalate, Prime Minister Gonsalves' focus on mature, respectful, and wise discourse is not only commendable but necessary, as it is through such dialogue that misunderstandings can be clarified and the threat of conflicts can be mitigated, noting that the initiative sets a valuable example for conflict resolution and diplomatic engagement worldwide. Sir Dennis ended his letter by assuring Prime Minister Gonsalves that he stands steady to provide any support or insight that can assist in his continued endeavors to promote peace and unity within the region, and thanked him for his unwavering dedication to these noble goals and for his significant contributions to the advancement of the Caribbean community. Meanwhile, the New Democratic Party, the NDP, said it is gravely concerned about the escalating border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana and supports all efforts to promote its peaceful resolution. In a news release issued today, the NDP said it welcomes the meeting between the leaders of both countries to be held here and urged the government of Venezuela to abide by the December 1st ruling of the International Court of Justice and, like Guyana, to commit to using the courts to settle the dispute permanently. The news release quoted President of the NDP, Dr. Godwin Friday, as saying, quote, "We must do all we can to support the rule of international law and respect of Guyana's territorial integrity. We cannot support the flouting of international law and legal processes, nor condone the use of unilateral actions and threats to settle disputes." Thursday's meeting between the leaders must affirm the commitment to the peaceful resolution of the dispute and maintenance of the zone of peace, end quote. Preparations are being finalized for the laying of estimates of revenue and expenditure for the 2024 fiscal year in Parliament on December 19, 2023. This is according to Prime Minister Gonsalves on radio today.
It is going to be the Finance Committee, the Committee of the Whole House. That's a procedure we have to go through before we table the estimates and the appropriation bill. And then, well, the appropriation bill will be debated on January the 8th. But we want to get the estimates out before Christmas, because that's critical for the public servants to start do their work. The accounting officers, permanent secretaries, heads of departments, and the like. The members of Parliament should get the estimates this morning, because when I checked the printer, the government printer, yesterday evening, they were basically finalizing. They said they will finish last night. Okay. You know, it's a very thick document. And they were doing the color pages. So I expect it to be in the hands sometime in the morning, in the hands of the parliamentarians. So it'd be okay for the Finance Committee on Friday, and then of course would be a good several days before the debate on next week Tuesday, and they'll have it over the weekend certainly to study very carefully. Okay.
Meanwhile, the opposition New Democratic Party has outlined its priorities for the 2024 national budget, urging the government to include them in the budget to be presented in January. The NDP proposals includes reduce the rate of VAT from 16 to 13% to provide a relief from high cost of living, create a pathway to put the NIS on a sustainable footing, cut the interest rate on student loans to 4.5%, encourage projects to provide significant employment now that Sandals and other hotel projects are coming into operation, pay urgent attention to TVET education, and create a national skills agency with representatives from government, business, and unions to fill jobs and meet needs of economy. In a news release, the NDP president, Dr. Godwin Friday, said, quote, at the recent Hope for Youth rally, they set out the specifics of the plan to build a brighter SVG, noting that they always put the country first and hence the reason they are calling on the government to not to delay further but to implement these measures now, end quote. Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saz has expressed condolences to the family of the late Martin Bernard, who passed away on Tuesday, December 12, 2023. On radio today, Prime Minister Gansal said Bernard has had a very distinguished career and was a fantastic patriot who made an immense contribution to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, noting that the country has lost a good soul.
Nationalist or an integrationist in the region, an urbane, sophisticated man, but very much grounded among the people. He had studied agricultural science. He's very important in the management of Orange Hill Estates, which is family owned. And of course, subsequently, he was involved in the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, other businesses, the airline business, an entrepreneur of high quality. And he was a wonderful husband and father. In our younger days, we played a little cricket together. He was a pretty good cricketer. Something which is not known. I had this confirmed by him. And just as a footnote to political history, in the early 1960s, even though Joshua's wife was the parliamentary representative for North Windward, Martin Barnard was so popular among the people in North Windward, and particularly north of the Dry River. Even though he was the son of the planter and came from what you may call the planter class, and Joshua had been railing against the plantocracy, and in fact had been railing against Martin's father. But Joshua told me that years later, when I asked him about, I heard that he was interested in Martin running for him. He said, yes, he was a good man, even though he had conflicts with his father. I'm not talking about Joshua, E.T. Joshua. And Martin, one day, I asked him about it, confirmed it to me and laughed. He said, Joshua is a complicated fella. But it spoke to the fact that the Tribune of the People at that time saw qualities in this person, though he was from the quote-unquote the planter class.
Prime Minister Gonsalves also used the opportunity to extend condolences to the family of the late Antiguan soca sensation, Ricardo Dew, who died yesterday at the Sir Lester Bird Medical Center, and the 5 soldiers in Guyana who lost their lives while on duty.
Who died in his 30s. I mean, I enjoy his music. In fact, yesterday evening, when I was relaxing, just to keep feel a connection, I was playing on YouTube. I Love It Here. I Love It Here. Of course, people know you as Vagabond and also Professional. You know Johnny B. No, I try and keep in touch. Johnny B. And I really extend condolences to his family, and to Patrice Roberts in Trinidad, with whom he as a child. And they were close. Naturally, they were a team, a partnership in love and soca.
They were too engaged.
Yes. I also want to extend condolences, which I did privately, to the 5 persons who were in the military in Guyana who died in this terrible accident in the Essequibo area. Of course, I I spoke to President Ali about it. It's difficult when you're dealing with all the big national issues, and then this tragedy comes along. And often told me that it was particularly painful because he knew these people, and they volunteered to go and assist in some work in that area. Pilot is an experienced person, but apparently the weather was very terrible. And I extend to the people, government and people of Guyana, and very much to the families, our sincerest condolences.
In other news now, the Sandy Bay Government School copped several awards at this year's Primary School Christmas Festival held earlier today at the Faith Temple Church. As the most outstanding schools of the festival, the Sandy Bay Government School walked away with the Joe Fenner Award for Excellence. The school was also awarded the Most Outstanding Rendition of the Test Piece, Most Outstanding Original Piece, Most Outstanding Vocal Ensemble, and the Georgetown Zonal winner. The C.W. Prescott Primary came in second place overall and the Evesham Methodist School third. Here's a snippet of the 3 most outstanding pieces in the 2023 Primary Schools Christmas Festival. Other awards distributed today at the Primary Schools Christmas Festival included zonal winners Bequia Anglican Primary, Kaliakwa Anglican, C.W. Prescott Primary, Bookament Government, the Barley Primary, Collar Government, and Greg's Government School. Most Outstanding Instrumental was awarded to the C.W. Prescott Primary. Most Outstanding Choral Speech went to the Georgetown Government. Most Outstanding Dance went to Dorsetshire Hill Government, and Most Outstanding Drama, Kaliakwa Anglican.